Hey, what's going on everyone? I'm S2F Gaming, and today we are going to be going over the settings for the Fjordur series and the Level 5 Challenge series, and most likely you'll see this video pop up on both of those playlists. But guys, if you may or may not know, I do play on the Xbox Series X. Both of those playthroughs are in single player, so on console, on PC, whatever you play on, all of the settings that I have set up should apply, and you should be able to do them on your end. So let's jump into it and let's get started. So first things first, difficulty level. That has been increased to 1.0. This just allows the highest level dinos and everything like that on the map. The other setting that I changed is taming speed. Taming speed is 5.0. And I will mention XP multiplier for the series is bumped a little bit. Usually I'm in between 0.25 to 0.5. This one I'm doing 1.0, but taming speed is 5. Again, it allows tames to be a little bit faster, but at the same time, it's not like it's an instant tame. It's just that I don't want to sit there for an hour waiting for a tame to be ready. That's really just what it comes down to. Besides that, dino harvesting damage, I think is just 3.2. I've made that 3.0 just to keep everything nice and clean. I don't know, it's just a thing for me. Harvesting amount for my character is also 3, which is why you do see that I get bigger yields. But again, because I am on single player, I think that kind of balances it out versus if you're playing with a tribe, if you're playing with friends. I feel like 3.0, if you're by yourself, pretty much balances you out. Now, the rest of these settings are all default, are all vanilla. This is what you can start with. I haven't touched any of these, but moving down to the checkboxes here. We have third-person camera on. We also have enable crosshair on, which again, if I'm using a crossbow, a gun, anything like that, you see that little crosshair shows up, which I personally like. The only setting that changes back and forth is PvP and PvE. It depends on the situation. If I'm doing breeding and everything like that, I will check this on off and have PvP, which allows me to get cryo sickness on my dinos. Just makes it easier to kill them and everything like that. But most of the time, both playthroughs are on PvE. In the level 5 challenge, actually, interestingly, where I built my base, I need to have it in PvP mode because there's an actual loot drop that apparently falls on that spot. So if I have it in PvE mode, I can't put down any structures on my build. As of right now, if we end up changing the base eventually, then maybe that won't apply so much. But for the level 5 challenge, PvP mode, just again, to allow me to use the base that I built, but most of the time, PvE mode for both playthroughs. Disable friendly fire and show map player location are also turned on. Maximum difficulty is turned on. Again, this forces the max level dino to 150. It works with the difficulty setting. So yeah, 150 dinos across the board, essentially. Enable PvP gamma. I think this is just a general one that's always turned on. I don't necessarily need it. I don't use gamma. I personally don't like it, so we can even knock that on off. I don't use that, basically. I do not do single-player settings. Single-player settings specifically changes all the settings of XP. It changes the settings of dino melee damage, the whole 9. And again, it's just to give you a better experience if you are playing single-player, a more, like, fast-paced, as it says here, experience if you do this. But I personally don't. I think the game gets a little too easy when you do single-player settings, so moving on from there, use corpse locator, disable structure placement collision, allow multiple platform floors, and allow unlimited respec. So these are the ones turned on. Just to kind of give you a gist of this, this allows me to build inside of the terrain, essentially, especially when I'm doing builds. There's certain things that I just like to do with my builds I am allowed now to clip into the terrain to allow those certain placements and everything like that. Multiple platform floors, this is if we get ourselves a Bronto, Parasaur, Mosa, I think, has a platform saddle. The Quetz has a platform saddle. This allows you to build multiple levels, like a big base, essentially, on the back of one of those dinos, which is kind of cool. Personally, never done it before, but I always have this checked with the possibility that it could be something I do in the future. Unlimited respecs, this essentially lets us use a Mind Wipe tonic as often as we want. Traditionally, if you have this checked off, if you use a Mind Wipe tonic, you cannot use another one until you've gained a level, which is a bit annoying. So, unlimited respecs are turned on. Last but not least is allow or fly speed leveling, which has been a bit of an issue on Fjordur, I will admit, but especially with the Desmodus, guys, on console, I'm not sure if it's patched yet or anything like that, but the Desmodus, as we saw firsthand, gets a crazy speed boost. So all you have to do is have your Desmodus in a cryo. Come on back to the main screen here. Check this off. Go back in your game. Throw out your Desmodus while allow fly speed leveling is turned off. And essentially that should fix it. I think it's 136.5 is what you should be actually aiming for if you're looking for a, if you have an imprinted one. I believe mine is 136.5, but now I can turn this back on. It doesn't affect any other flyers, especially when taming. It just affects the Desmodus for some reason. Moving on to Advanced, though. Advanced, there's not too much to work with here. The only setting that I did change over the course of time, where is it? Okay, I think it's a little further down. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. PvE, allow Tribor. Again, this is just a general one that's always clicked. I personally like to do cave building sometimes, so I'm going to have this checked. Allow Flyer Carry, obviously in PvE. This allows your Argents to carry dinos. This allows pretty much all dinos to be carried and everything like that, or within reason, obviously. The normal dinos that can be picked up and everything like that. Moving down, we have non-permanent diseases. This basically, if we get disease, if we get rabies, I'm not sure if it affects swamp fever, so we'll go with rabies. If I die from rabies, I do not respawn with rabies, which just kind of makes sense, but if you have permanent diseases on, that is... Oh no, that's prevent diseases. If you have this not checked, if you die from rabies, your new character will wake up with rabies. Yeah. Personally, I don't like that. It's a bit crazy. Yeah, but moving on, this one is just a generalized setting, so we're not really going to worry about that. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what that does. All these settings, I think, are just generalized. I don't think I touch any of these. This is the only one I touch, actually. This determines how close resources can spawn near bases. You guys know when I actually build bases, when I pick an area, I like the aesthetic around it, so I don't like to take resources from nearby the base. God forbid if a dino walks through and knocks down a tree. This prevents, basically, this allows that resource to respawn in, whether it's a tree, whether it's a, I don't know, whether it's a rock that got hit by mistake, whether it's whatever the case. This allows it to respawn back in and keep the area aesthetically pleasing, essentially. Moving on to all these, poop interval you never touch. Just keep that 1.0, that's it. Lay egg interval 1.0. I will mention these settings are not my settings. These are the settings that Flinger Foo uses. I've been using them in the series, and I actually really like them so far. So, they're not mine. I'm going to say that. I have not done the science. I have not done any of it. These are the settings he works with, and it works out really well. I highly recommend these settings. But mating interval, 0.001. This is the lowest you can do on console. If I go any lower, it drops it to 0, but once you go into the game, it becomes default. On PC, you can go further and further. 0.000000001 even, you can go as far as you want. But on console, 0.001 is the lowest you can have for mating interval, which is the in between how often they're going to breed. Egg hatch speed is 60, 42.5 for baby mature speed. I'm not going to go into detail on these again because they're not really my settings. I don't know the science behind them, but they seem to work out really well. Baby food consumption speed, this is just 1. This is what it normally is. Harvest health, again, this is 1. This is default. This is the health, quote-unquote, health of the trees, rocks, all that kind of stuff. So how much damage is it going to take until it fully breaks, essentially? Resource respawn period is 0.5. Again, same thing with that setting that we talked about up here. Structure, prevent, whatever the heck. Again, this allows stuff to spawn in more frequently and closer to base to keep the area aesthetically pleasing. Baby Cuddle multiplier is 0.035. Again, I have not done the research on this. He has, and it's been working out really well for me so far. Again, I really enjoy these settings. Highly recommend trying out these settings for yourself. Baby Cuddle, Baby Imprinting Stat Scale Multiplier, all 1.0. This is all just vanilla. Day cycle speed is 1 because I do change the day and the night speed specifically. So day cycle speed, that's going to be for day and night. That's going to be for the entire day. That has not been touched. Daytime speed is 0.229, and essentially that comes out to about 3 hours I get of daylight while playing. Nighttime speed is 1, which I believe is 18 point something minutes. It's pretty quick, nighttime, which is pretty good. Spoil time is 2.5. Again, this is more for mutton and stuff like that. It just allows me a chance to kill an Ovis, get back to base, be able to cook it, whatever the case may be, or use it as taming food, whatever. Basically, mutton, higher cuts of meat, I guess we'll put it. Mutton, raw prime, raw fish, they tend to spoil quickly. So 2.5 just works out the best, in my opinion, especially on single player. Item decomposition time. So this is when you throw items down into the world. So if I'm like, oh, I don't want this spoiled meat, and I just throw it out, I believe 2.5 equates to 5 minutes, essentially. So it'll sit in the world for 5 minutes, and then it goes away. Corpse decomposition time. This one I've always had a little bit of trouble with. This I have at 2.0. I've been trying to get it where it ends up being 30 minutes. I don't know what the case is, because 2.0 ends up being like an hour and 6 minutes. And to be honest, I've kind of given up on trying to figure out the exact combo. An hour and 6 minutes is fine, but essentially, if I die in the world, if one of my dinos dies, if I kill a dino, the bag that it drops will last over an hour in the world. No resource radius around players and structures. Again, all about aesthetic of the base. It just influences how far and how close stuff will respawn to players and structures. So again, 0.5, again, just to keep the aesthetic of the base. Crop speed and decay speed are both at official 1.0. None of these stats have been touched. These are all the official stats for tame dinos, adding per level, just wild dinos, all of that. So none of that's been touched. I know if you do the single player setting button that I mentioned a little bit a while ago, this gets all changed. Everything gets moved around, so I don't do that. Let's see, going through these. Player platform, okay, that doesn't really affect me, so whatever. That doesn't really affect me. Only allow specified engrams. Now, this would be, some engrams are just, I don't know, I've never used this setting. I think it's just, that allows you to pick which engrams you want. I guess if you want a more primitive playthrough, you can click this and just remove tech from the game. Like, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't worked with this, but I assume that's what it is, because the next little bar up on top, general advanced engrams. And there you can get rid of engrams, keep engrams, and all that fun stuff. So I think that has to specifically do with it. Floating damage text. I personally just want to know what my dinos are hitting at, so I like to keep this. Obviously, for boss fights, it definitely adds a little bit of lag and everything, especially, oh my god, especially when we took on the, oh god, what was it called? Like the King Titan. Jesus, that was so bad in the last series. But yeah, no, personally, I like having this just to kind of know where my numbers are at. Custom recipes, we haven't done this in either playthrough yet, but custom recipes is absolutely huge. We'll do that a little bit later down the road, but definitely have this checked, period. Even if you don't end up using custom recipes, still have it checked. Lastly, raid dino feeding. So this is for the Titanosaur. This is for the Titans on extinction. If you do not have this clicked, eventually they die and they end up starving out. If you have this checked, it will allow them to consume food to allow them to continue living, essentially. Now, I believe servers do this, again, because having a Titanosaur will be pretty overpowered to have for a while on a server and everything like that, or on official, rather. Single player, it doesn't make a difference. So, yeah, I have this checked just so if I do tame a Titanosaur at any point, I can keep it alive. Now, the last thing that I've changed down here is 3 different things. So, structure, crate, loot quality, and fishing loot quality is at 2.5. This doesn't get changed. I like 2.5 because, again, I am on single player. I have no other way of gathering items other than myself. And 2.5, I still get bad drops. I still get really good drops. You guys have seen a couple of the good drops. But believe me, with those good drops, out of 10 drops that I do, the ones you guys see are the 1 out of 10, the good one. The rest of them end up being compasses, medium crop plots. I get metal walls all the time, like the blueprint for the metal wall. So 2.5 isn't too big of a deal. I haven't noticed too much of a difference, I'll be honest. And then lastly, increased platform structure limit. So if I ever make a raft or anything like that, there's only a certain amount of structures you're allowed to put on it. I believe it's a total of 84 items, and that includes walls, that includes foundations, and that includes even a bed, forges. Every item in the game is considered a structure, so 1. At 1.0, I think I said it's 84. 5.0, this just allows me to put as much stuff as I want to on a raft or anything like that. And then, obviously, if there's an event going on, I personally have never used this because, again, arc updates and ends up having the event going on. But let's just say I'm in the mood. It's, you know, it's going to be July soon, so maybe I want to do a Christmas in July. I can activate the Christmas event. I can activate whatever event I want to at any point, but personally, I have never used this. But guys, overall, that is all of my settings for both series. That is for the level 5 challenge and for the Fjordur series. Again, shorter video, guys, but I did want to get this one out there. I know you guys have been asking for it, so just wanted to get it out there so you guys are interested in checking out my settings. But that's going to wrap up this episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. And on top of that, if you're enjoying my content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.